Good morning. This is episode 11 of Saying Goodbye, a podcast by Angel. And this is actually episode 11. I thought that the last podcast was episode 11. And I was just a little confused, and I was like, oh, let me go back and fix it. Let me edit it. Let me do all these things. And you know what? There's no problem with being imperfect, because I for damn sure am not perfect. I enjoy not being perfect, and I enjoy not trying to be perfect. And it says episode 11, but it was actually episode 10. And this is episode 11. So, now that that's clear, I am here to tell my story for those that are seeing episode 11 and not episode 1. And I'm just telling my story of all the things that I've been through growing up in life, and all the things that have happened for me, not to me. I'm not a victim. I'm just a person that dealt with a lot of trials and tribulations in life, and I overcame them. And not that life is over, but a lot of the hardships that happened that I couldn't help when I was a child can no longer happen, right? I'm a grown man, and now I get to make my own decisions, and I get to do a lot of the things that I need to, for myself, to be productive, to be happy in my own right, and, to live a good life the way that I see fit, regardless of what I went through. In episode 10, I was like really disconnected. I was trying to keep, in a certain zone, or just try to keep everything in check, and I didn't have anything in check. My feelings were my feelings, and talking about my mom and having to get into it again now, it was extremely tough, just talking about it and reliving it. As I go through these episodes, I relive everything, and it comes back to me, and I express exactly what I was feeling in the moment, what I was going through. And, that's all I could do, right? I could express what I went through, what I was going through, what was my frame of mind and my thoughts in that at that time. And then I just leave it out here, and I get to process it again. And then after I'm done with an episode, it sometimes it weighs really heavy. Like talking about my brother, or the first episode was probably, the hardest, because it was just getting started, just trying to express myself and tell people exactly what I was going through and what I was feeling in the moment, and what I have been through and what I'm going through. And that's what I'm doing. So at this point in my life, it was about 7 years ago. Yeah, about 7 years ago. And I had gotten a PA, and I had left my mom in the hospital room. And they had called me. They told me that she had passed away. And I said in the last episode that it was over, and the truth was that it wasn't over. It absolutely wasn't over. It was the beginning of the realization that I had to face a lot of my demons. I had to face a lot of things that I haven't confronted up to this time. A lot of things that I have went through with my mom. And to be extremely honest, when my mom passed away, I was upset. Like, I still wanted answers. I still wanted her to, like explain to me, right? Explain to me why she just couldn't be who I needed her to be. And the truth is that I expected her to be somebody that she wasn't. I expected her to be a fairy tale version in my head of who she needed to be for me. And the truth is that I would never get that version of my mother, because that is my idea of what a mother should be or could be or would be. And my mother was never that. My mother was who she was, plain and simple. She was a wonderful person that told jokes. She was very funny, very sweet, very loving, who happened to have a problem with drugs. And the drugs consumed her life, and she wasn't able to love and be there for the people that she loved in ways that she would have liked to. I'm sure if we all had choices, which we do, to change things, and you really wanted to do that, you're gonna go and you're gonna make that change if that's what it means to you. And I know it's tough, and I know life shows up, and I know it'd be like one thing after another. But like that's how it happens in your life. When you want good things, or when you start to turn the corner and you start to do the right thing for yourself, everything goes wrong. I mean, like, everything is going to go wrong in your life. When you trying to really make that pivot and you trying to dig in and you trying to get situated in your life, that's exactly when everything is going to fall apart. Because you're breaking the mold of not being that same person. You breaking that old person that you was. And as you start to shift, everything crumbles. Everything falls apart. That whole made up idea of what people thought of you, what people think of you, how you think of yourself, all these things are no longer true. You know why? Because you're physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you already started making the changes in your mind, in your heart, praying to God or whatever it is that you're doing. When you start to make a change, and everything crumbles. Absolutely, it's supposed to. Because you grow through what you go through. Like, shedding your skin is a painful process. Shedding the old person and getting rid of all these old habits and all these things that have become you. All these things that have become me. Like, all these, oh my God, all these negative thought processes. Like, I acquired so many different processes of thought through other people, through third party. It wasn't even mine. And I picked up all these different things and they became me. And people contributed to who I was, how I felt, how I turned out, how violent I could be, and that's like, all these different things became me. My mother, my uncle, my brother Booby, my brother Anthony, like my brothers in the street, like, I got that attitude from SR. I seen him fucking acting up, and he didn't give a fuck what anybody thought. And I was like, you fucking right. I don't give a fuck either. And I picked up on things. I picked up on a lot of things, and I would notice, and I took bits and pieces of everything from everywhere and everybody, because I didn't like who I was. I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know who I was or what I was or why I was. All I know is that I came from a broken ass home that wasn't even a home, because I never had a place to call my own until I got clean and I got a little apartment in Brooklyn, and then I wound up getting an apartment in PA. And when I got the apartment in PA, that was the first time my name was on a lease. I didn't even know what a lease was. And these these are the things that happen when you get out of your own way, when you start to live a different life, when you make a decision to live a different life, and then you could be there for the people you love, regardless of how they showed up for you in your life. And that was, for me, was the biggest point of my life, that no matter who my mother was, my defining moment at this pinnacle point in my life was to decide who Angel is and who I'm gonna be. And I had to make that decision for this woman that I loved with every fiber of my being, because I came from her. I am a part of her. She's a part of me. And I had to make that decision not to be like her. And I don't know if you know, and I know you know, and I know that you can understand that when people treat you fucked up in your life, our first idea is vengeance, and I'm going to get them back, or I'm never going to deal with this person again. I don't want to hear it. You know, I'm not dealing with none of that stuff. And that is what happened for a lot of years. You know, I was like that with a lot of people, and it just hardened my heart. And for whatever reason, I just can't, and I couldn't be that way with my mother. I understood that she wasn't loved. I could feel her energy. You know, and because I'm putting all this garbage in my body, I'm not really in tune with my higher power. I'm not in tune with my spirituality. I'm just broken and existing. I'm not present. You know, I was a lot of things. But when I got rid of the alcohol, the drugs, the numbing out, anything that didn't belong to me, that didn't come from God, like, when I got rid of these things, I was able to look at myself in the mirror and have a conversation with myself and say, man, what are you gonna do here? And you know what? Like, that car ride down after picking up my mom from that crack house, coming back to drop her off, and after like letting off on her, I felt like shit even more. But I felt good that I let it out. And it was just like a seesaw of emotions. Just up and down, up and down. And when my mom passed away, I was still angry. I was mad. I went through so many different emotional states, you know? Clinically, I can't break them down, and I'm sure I could if I looked it up and I decided to do that, but in the beginning, immediately, I was angry that she died without being who I wanted her to be. The selfishness. Even though there's a lot of things that proved that I was selfless. In a lot of ways, emotionally, I was just selfish because I just was broken. I didn't, I wanted to protect myself, and I'm like, why I can't have what I want? And that's the selfishness and the immaturity, emotional immaturity, spiritual immaturity. And, I could see it now. But in the moment, I was feeling all of that pain. How could you die without making things right? Because she couldn't. Because when we're in addiction, we can't control anything. We can't. A lot of people like to say, oh no, you be responsible. No, people are not in the right state. I was not in the right state of mind to make healthy choices. There's a reason why they say don't drink and get behind the wheel. You know, don't get high and get behind the wheel. You're going to kill people, because we can't be responsible when we have these drugs in our systems. You can't. You can't make a rational decision at a job while you're operating on somebody, or while you're a nurse giving out medicine, or you're an electrician or an HVAC tech, and you dealing with electricity. You doing all these different things. Something could blow up. You know, there's a reason why you're not high doing these things. And that's the reason, because even living life and you not clean, and you just, drugs have just taken over your life, and people expect, you know, like an addict to still be responsible when they're showing you, when we show you that we're not responsible in the way that we're behaving with the drugs that we're taking. And I still wanted her to be my mother regardless. Like, she couldn't have her own identity. I just say all these things just to say how fucking selfish I was. And yeah, I expected her to be a mother, and yeah, she should have been. But that was between her and God. You know, like, my thing is, like, I'm either going to be there or I'm not. And if I'm going to be there, I needed to be there in a healthy way. But I still needed to process things. And this was my process. You know, my process was that I was angry. Because I was always angry at everything. I was angry. I'll get violent. I was just fucking hurt. I just needed my mother. I needed my mom. And I never got that. I got glimpses. I got like little pieces, little pinches of love. And, you know, that shit really broke me, man. I just really just wanted her love. I wanted to be accepted by her. I needed her to hold me and tell me it was going to be okay. And she never did that. You know, as far back as I can remember, she sort of despised me for being strong, and for always having like a wishful mind, and always saying things were going to be all right. You know, a lot of people just dislike me for that shit, and I really didn't care, and I really don't. You know? But I know, you know, I just needed that love. I just needed that reassurance, and I never got it. And that's okay, because I had to decide who I was going to be, regardless of how hurt I was, and like how that made me feel. Like, regardless of that shit, I had to be who I wanted to be. Like what was important for me, and how it was important for me to show up. That's how I needed to show up. I didn't need to show up like how my mother showed up, or my father showed up, or my uncle showed up, or my brother showed up, or my friend showed up. None of that mattered to me. It just matters to me like how I show up. You know, like, regardless. And I learned in the street to get my get back. I learned that shit in a vicious way, and I displayed that in my emotional relationships. And it's like I would really show up, and then I would fucking crash out at other things. But when I really needed to be there, I showed up. And then I go and I behave in other ways. And, you know, it's a part of my brokenness. And I am perfectly imperfect. And I am okay with that. Because as I go on and I go on maturing now in my process, I'm understanding who I am, because I'm learning to love myself. I'm learning to be alone. I'm learning to be with my own thoughts. I'm learning to meditate and pray and be with God, a few minutes a day, even if it's a few seconds, whatever time I take. I pray in the morning, I pray at night, and I be love in the beginning and at the end, and I can never go wrong with that. And I thank God, like today, when I look in the mirror, that I was there for my mother. I was there. I was there through everything. I signed them papers. I was there when she was in the hospital. I was there when she got her apartment. I was there when things were going bad and she got beat by a boyfriend. I was there through all of that. I was there through her drug addictions, through her runs. And that's what's important, that I was there for her. It didn't matter that she wasn't there for me. Does it feel good? No, absolutely not. But it does feel good that I could say that I was there when she needed me. Even though in the world, they say, oh, well, the parents supposed to be there for the children. Well, guess what? The parents, they go through things too, and they're human. And I'm not defending what she did, but I could feel like her brokenness in the moment of just talking about her. I could feel her insecurities. I could feel she wasn't good enough. And I could feel that I was just like her and she was just like me, because she just wanted to be loved. And she needed that from me. And I could say that I was strong enough for the both of us. I was strong enough to show up. In ways that she couldn't. And I don't, I didn't ask to be this strong. God gave me the strength, and it ain't easy turning the other cheek. It ain't easy, it ain't easy being there for people that have broken your spirit, man. That have hurt you in ways that you will probably try to kill somebody outside in the streets if they did that stuff to you. But this was my mother. This was my uncle. This was the people that I loved, and I couldn't choose them. But I could choose who who I am and what decisions I make. And I chose to be a son. I chose to be my uncle's son too. No matter how much he hurt me, no matter how much my mother hurt me, shit happens, man. Like, we're family, and I was there. I didn't run away, you know. I didn't run away, you know, and I remember I remember when she passed away, I got home, I came off the highway. I was just bringing my brother-in-law to live with us. He wanted to leave New York too. And I was always trying to like help people out, and not trying to shout you out, brother. I'm just, things are just going through my mind. And, you know, that's what it's all about in this life, is just trying to help one another get along. Like, you know, when this is all said and done, if you decide to get buried and I decide to get buried, we all get eaten by maggots. There's no maggots. You're not going to get the high-class maggots. You know, you're not going to get the high-class worms. You're not going to get none of that. You know, like, we all came from the same thing, and we will return to the same thing. And I'm not better than anybody, and anybody that I could help, I will. And that's just who I am. That's in my spirit. That's in my heart. And that's why I always, no matter what, things always turn out okay for me. No matter what. And I contacted the funeral home and Grace Funeral Home by the Conduit. And, you know, they went and they picked up my mother, and I went down the very next day on the 19th. And I had called the old man. I called Al. And because Al had recommended them, and he always, you know, he knows a lot of the people there. And, you know, I went the very next day, man. I went to see my mother in the funeral home. And I called my brother, Anthony. And I told him, I said, hey, man, you know, like, we're going to the funeral home. I got to, you know, write some checks and do some things. And, you know, I really need you to be there. I really need you to show up. You know, like, he was the only one, you know, that I had. So I reached out to him, and I don't know what was going on with him, and I can't describe what it felt like for him losing my mom. But the only person that went with me to the funeral home was my significant other and Al. And I went and I made cards, and, you know, I went and they took my mom a shower. I got to see her. She was so messed up while she was here, and she just didn't look like herself. But when she passed away and all that sickness and stuff in her body was done and her spirit was freed, man, they put a dress on her so that I could see her, or they just, I don't know what they did, but they cleaned her up. I don't know if they put a dress or what they wanted to do, or I don't, I think that we discussed putting on a dress on her and doing all these things, but they, you know, like they cleaned her up, they put stuff on her, and, you know, she was clean. She was free from all that wickedness, you know, and she looked so peaceful and just so beautiful. And she looks like the woman I used to watch sleep. You know, like, I used to watch her sleep sometimes. I enjoy that, to admire her while she slept. Just her presence and her just being there. It was, it was, it was just something so, it was just like a feeling of a higher being, like just to like watch her and absorb her energy while she was asleep and she was in her most peaceful state. And it was just like a flow of energy as I would watch her sometimes. I got to watch her a few times. But this time, the energy was gone, but I still felt her presence. It felt like she was still there, like still around, and she was like watching me. And I could feel that. I could feel that peace and that release, and it just felt good being there. And I was proud of myself, I guess. I was proud that I saw it through. Yeah, you have to sign the papers and the legalities of it and all that stuff. And in that moment, they asked me and they said, "Do you want to have a viewing?" Oh man. And you know, I had to make that choice that I wasn't gonna have a viewing. Our brothers and sisters, the ones that were left, they were out of town, and I don't know if they were gonna make it. And I'll be honest, my brother didn't make it to the funeral home, and he didn't come. And that was enough of the answer that I needed. That I wasn't gonna put myself through holding a viewing, and then certain people didn't show up, and I had expectation. I was not gonna set myself up for failure. I was not. I was not gonna set myself up for failure. Not in this moment. This was just too tough for me to deal with. And, you know, like, I just decided not to do a viewing. And I had my mom cremated. And, you know, that's the way I did it. I signed the papers. It was over. I paid. And, you know, I was there signing my papers, and I was there doing what I had to do. And that's all the time that I had with her. I was satisfied. I was. And I'm sure that there was people that loved her. Like, my sister Dell called me, and she was pissed off. And she was like, "How you not going to do a viewing? We need to say goodbye to her." And I don't think that it was selfish of me. I think that I think that those people that got to see her while she was in the hospital, that was it, you know. And I was okay with that. Maybe I would have done things a little different. Like now, looking in retrospect, like probably I would have done it. But who I would have done it for? Who was that for? I would have went, and it's not about the money, because trust me, I spent it. I spent it all. I was shopping for a house, and I decided to chill. And my friend said, "Yo, don't do that. Like God's gonna provide." And you know, I continued like looking a little bit, but I was spending all my money. You know, and I would have made it. I would have made it happen if I wanted to, if I had to. But this my mom's death hit me hard, and it hit me in ways. It hurt me in ways that um it like broke my spirit, man. Like Booby's murder hurt me deeply, and it was like something was just ripped out. Like you didn't even know it was gonna happen, and it happened, and then it was torn out, and then you had to deal with the healing from that. But this was a process, and I couldn't do anything to help her, and it is the most helpless feeling, you know, to just watch someone you love wither away like that because it's drug consumption. You know, and I miss my mama, and I wish she was around. And, you know, I talk to her at times, and I miss her terribly. It is the worst feeling to not be able to hug them and tell them how much you love them, and just feel their embrace, you know. But I went and you know, I did the best I could with what I had. Um, I would have taken things way too personal. I would have been fighting with all these. It would have just taken my peace and destroyed it. And I couldn't take that chance. And I didn't. And to those people that are upset by that, you know, we're all entitled to our feelings, you know. But I had to do what was best for me in the situation. You know, like when Booby passed away, you know, like I paid everything and I was short a little bit, and it was the worst thing in the world. Like with Booby, it was, you know, like I was not gonna ask anybody, and one person helped me out, and I'm not saying that there were other people that were like, yo, here's this, here's that, and I appreciate you guys, and I will forever be grateful, and you know, that love and that caring, that type of caring and affection and compassion, it helps me to be that way with other people, you know, and I pay it forward, and I try to help in any way that I can, and you know, that was the end of it, you know. And then this next episode is a lot of things that happen, a lot of things that unfold, even in me being clean, even in me showing up for my mom, even in doing the right thing and doing the wrong thing. And you know, I look forward to like sharing that with you guys. And in the meantime, if you guys want to leave me a message, you could send me an email, leave me a comment. You want to reach out, you want to talk, I am all for it. if you're listening to my story, and it makes you feel a lot of things, you know, thank you for watching. Thank you for taking the time out of your day and whatever it is that you're doing to listen, to my life and what I've been through. I truly appreciate you. And there's nothing but love here. And if there's anybody that needs to be spoken to, there's nothing like another addict to talk to an addict. There's nothing like a person that's lost everything to talk to somebody that feels like they're lost. And I'm a little bit of everything. A little bit of everything. A lot of tragedies mixed in one, with a whole bunch of love and God in the center. And I will continue to tell my story and to try to help anybody I can, because that's, for me, that's what life is just all of us. We're all connected. I don't care what shape, size, or color you are. We are all connected, and we're all God's children, and we all come from the same Creator. And I'll help you out in any way that I can. This is the second episode about my mom, and this is episode 11. And I'll see you on the other side. Please like, share, subscribe. Send the video to somebody that you might think is down. Send the first video. Let them hear something that might spark a little life in them. Try anything that you can to help somebody else. But doing nothing, it's not acceptable. Because there's a little something we could do. You don't got to do it all. You don't got to give up everything. But give somebody a hug today. Tell them that you love them. Call somebody you're angry at. Call somebody you've been fighting with, and sometimes we don't even know why. But time here is very precious. And every moment that we have, we should live it that way, because we don't know when it comes to an end. Just enjoy the people you love. Hug them a little deeper, a little longer. Give them a kiss. Express your gratitude. Keep the focus on yourself and open up. And you watch, love conquers all. God bless you guys. Thank you for listening. I'll see you on the next episode.